What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Want to make a quick video response to my homeboy Nim Nim. He made a video earlier today about kaijus and all the detriments that come with them and how they were essentially ruining boss monster decks, etc., etc. I strongly suggest you guys watch his video so that you guys can get his point of view. But I'm just going to make some counter arguments and give my thoughts and opinions on this topic. By the way, what the fuck is going on with my recommended section? Like, honestly, I have no idea who half these people are. Like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? I mean, I know Simo, I know Devonator, I know MSTTV and House of Champs, but like half of these people, like who the fuck are these people? And YouTube, please fix your recommended section. All right, so for starters, one thing that he brought up in his video, and I hear it commonly said, and I just think that we need to stop saying it, is that kaijus are quote unquote free removal. They are not free removal. If you just look at Yu-Gi-Oh from an advantage or just from a mathematical standpoint, they are neg ones. The simplest example I can give you guys is, let's say I have a farm girl on the field and some back row, and you don't want to deal with the possibility of a Dark Destroyer or a Dark Eclipse or 3000 monster that's untargetable. So you say, you know what, Cap, I'm going to give you this Gamma Seal so I don't have to deal with a Dark Destroyer this turn. Okay, that's fine, but guess what? You went from having 6 cards in your hand to having 5, and the amount of cards that I control slash have in my hand are the same. So you have taken a neg, you now have less resources, and you really haven't accomplished that much. Now, the thing about kaijus is, and we'll just talk about the Sea Turtle, we'll talk about Gamma Seal, because that's the most commonly played one. And we won't even talk about Sticky Dude or the 3300 attack monsters. Like, people always say in this card that it's only 2200. They always say only 2200. It's just a measly little 2200. I can just cough and it'll basically die. The thing about that is, what deck in the format can normal summon a card that is going to attack over this? Because I can't think of any. Are there any decks that are like secretly hidden in the format that can, you know, summon like 2400 or 2300 monsters to just run this over? Like, usually what it means to answer your own kaiju, keep that in mind, you're trying to kill your own card, is you have to go for what I like to call a high risk play. A high risk play is a play that requires 2 monsters or more. Basically an Xyz summon, a fusion summon, a synchro summon, or a pendulum summon, because obviously pendulums require 2 pendulum scales and then a 3rd monster to be summoned. And the thing about that is, can't all of those be answered with like any basic, you know, common trap that we play, like a bottomless trap hole or a solemn strike or whatever? Like, let's just say it's an ABC mirror match, right? And I have ABC and Tsukiyomi, pretty much a standard opening play for ABC, and you kaiju my ABC. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then you go Gold Gadget into, I don't know, B-Buster Drake or whatever, and you try and go into Utopia to attack over your own Gamma Seal. Okay, so what's stopping me from just activating Evac and then activating Time Space or any of these solemns or any of these just easy basic traps and just answering your play? And it's like now you're on the defensive. Another thing that people don't get is, if you're not able to answer your own kaiju, what is your opponent going to do with that damn thing? It's not like they're just going to sit there and admire its beauty, like, oh my god, Gamma Seal is just, look at it magnificently and gracefully coming out of the water like that. It's so it's so transformative and, you know, defiant in all of its aura and glory. Like, no, they're going to beat the crap out of you with it, because it is a sizable monster and it's a card that you gave them for free. So, I mean, they got the card for free because you're the one that took the neg 1. So they're just going to attack with it, and it's like dying by your own hand is very, very common when it comes to this. You know, people like to talk about how these are pretty much killing the boss monster decks, but you have to understand how these boss monster or bust decks play. This is a term that I've been using for a long time, boss monster or bust, and it goes all the way back to what Robbie Cole calls protect the Stardust. The sense is, you know, step 1 is summon your boss monster, summon your ABC, summon your Dark Law slash Totally Awesome, and then step 2 is protect that monster. Even if you are able to get rid of my step 1, you're able to easily out my boss monster, you still haven't really dealt with step 2, which is me protecting my boss monster. It's really not that difficult for me to say, okay, well, I don't have ABC Buster Dragon anymore, but I'm going to transition from ABC Buster Dragon being my boss monster to Gamma Seal being my boss monster. It's still big as shit. You still can't normal summon and kill it. So I'm just going to use these traps. I'm going to protect my Gamma Seal. I'm just going to beat the crap out of you with it. It's not really all that different than losing to a Dark Law. I mean, yeah, I don't get all the bells and whistles of the lockdown or maybe the removal or the negation from like totally awesome, but I still do get a lot of battle damage. And if you cannot establish a board, you're really like, in the grand scheme of things, is the loss really all that different? Because I really don't think it is, because you have to understand, while you were able to out my boss monster, you have less resources to work with. You don't have 6 cards anymore, you have 5 cards to work with now because you took the neg 1. And I think that the sympathy that Gage has for these boss monsters and the boss monster decks, I feel like it falls on deaf ears, because like if he would have made this argument, or if Kaijus would have somehow been around like way back in the 5Ds days when Storm of Ragnarok came out, well actually after 6 Samurai got hit, because when Storm of Ragnarok first came out and they had 3 gateways, it was like fucking tier 0 and it was like fucking unbeatable. But if you would have like maybe talked about this when 6 Samurai were like really hot, or when, you know, Evil Swarm were really hot, even though it's really not applicable with Ophion because it's like obviously, you know, it's not affected by like Kaijus as long as it has materials. These are decks that are completely reliant on their one boss monster. They need to get so much value out of these 2 cards that they don't have, like they cannot recover if they lose these cards. At least they can't recover easily. I mean, for this deck you have to have Kirkion, and for this you pretty much have to have like double-edged sword technique to try and summon like another Sheen. But it's really not that common for these decks to win if their boss monster is off the field turn 1. With these decks, not only can they recover a lot easier, I mean, with ABC, if I have Union Hanger out, all I have to do is summon A, B, or C, and I'm halfway to another ABC Buster Dragon. It is really not that difficult to get a second one. Or even with these decks, I mean, I've been saying this for months. I said it so much that I feel like I'm just blowing hot air at this point. If I summon a pretty standard field of Dark Law plus Bahamut Shark plus Totally Awesome, if you get rid of one of these 3 with the Gamecill, so what? You haven't accomplished anything. All you've done is take a neg 1. Like if you get rid of my Totally Awesome, okay, you took your neg 1, you still gave me another 2200 beater, so you just replaced the 22 with a 22, and my Totally Awesome is going to pay for itself. It's going to give me Bubble Man back to my hand, and I still have Dark Law. In addition to that, if you don't kill Bahamut Shark, I'm just going to get another Totally Awesome for free next turn anyway. So it's like, what have you accomplished? You know what I mean? Like these decks can recover so much faster. Then you even talked about it in the video yourself. You talked about how everything floats and how all the A, Bs, and Cs float. Like these decks are more equipped to handle with their boss monsters dying, because A, they can make stronger fields than before, and B, they can recover so much easier. So I don't really think that this is a sense, or I don't think this is a situation where like if these decks lose their boss monster, it's like automatically offer the handshake, GG no re. It's in the book, it's in the actual, you know, rule book, that if I lose ABC Buster Dragon, then I just lose the game. Like no, I still have all my traps to fall back on to stop what you're gonna do. I still have my Tsukiyumi possibly on the field to get me more draws. I still have my Union Hanger. If I summon an A, B, or C, I'm pretty much halfway to getting another one and one normal summon anyways. Like I don't even think that these cards are, some people were saying that the Kaijus are quote unquote a necessary evil. Like I don't even think they're that good that you can classify them as necessary evil. When I think of necessary evil, guys, historically in Yu-Gi-Oh, cards that I think about are like Heavy Storm and like Goers. These are cards that have been like banned or limited for years. Cards that completely turn the duel on its head when you activate them. You know, if you guys remember Gores back in like the like Teledad or the Synchro Cat format, there was a card that if you attacked into it at the wrong time, like you completely lose the duel, because it's like, oh fuck, he has a huge token and a Gores and my monsters can't get over it. Fuck, I just lost. Like I don't think you can say that about Kaijus, and I honestly don't see Konami building any more decks. Like the decks, the boss monster bust decks, they're not as flimsy as they were in the past. Even if you look at non-competitive decks, just like casual decks like my Lunar Lights, you know, you think about, oh, if I Kaiju your Leo Dancer, you can't win. I've showed multiple replays because of the new support that Lunar Lights have. You can now drop 3 Leo Dancers in one turn, so it's like even a deck like Lunar Lights isn't all that affected by like Kaijus, you know. And he did go on to say about how Kaijus have essentially power creeps cards like Santa Claus and Volcanic Queen and you know, cards like Lava Golem. But the thing about it is, what I think that he has kind of missed is the fact that those cards are old as fuck. They really should be power creeped. Volcanic Queen, I'm just gonna say off the top of my head, Force of the Breaker, isn't that a GX set? Lava Golem, Pharaonic Guardian, like these are sets that are like 10 and 12 years old. Like these cards should be power creeped by now, because they've been out for, you know, nearly a decade. That's like expecting Fissure from, you know, like the original starter deck Yugi not to be power creeped, you know, almost 15 years later. Like of course these cards are going to be power creeped. They've been out for forever. You know, I look at Kaijus and I think They are really good at what they do, but honestly, they don't even cover that much ground anymore. I think that they are massively overrated. Even if you look at the most recent YCS and Bokum, people don't even main deck Kaijus anymore because they realize, like, these decks, when you get rid of their boss monster, they don't automatically lose, or they can just play around it. ABC can tag out, even though some people say that that's not the optimal play. These cards just don't cover that much. They don't cover as much ground as honestly people think. That's the reason why they're not in the main deck and why they've been moved to the side deck, which just makes them good side deck cards. So, I mean, are we going to make the argument that like good side deck cards should be banned? Because I don't think so. Like a card like Anti-Spell Fragrance, you can make the arguments, or Vanities, that they should be banned because they are cards that are worth in the main deck. But these cards are just okay. Honestly, if I think there's anything that's insane about the Kaiju archetype, it's this card. It's Interrupted Slumber. This card is basically a dark hole that gives you a 3,000 attack monster or 3,300 attack monster that's generally bigger than anything your opponent has, and then at the same time, during your next turn, you can banish it and get another monster. Like, this is the stupid card in the archetype, not these cards. So you guys let me know what you think. I'm not throwing any shots at Nemnem, still love that guy, but I think this is a little bit like when the Yu-Gi-Oh! You guys remember like a year ago when the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community wanted Naturia Beast banned? Like, I was like, that's so silly. I don't think, because remember when people started playing X-Saber Palomaru and everybody was convinced Naturia Beast was so broken. I think there's a little bit of that. I think Kaijus are completely fine. I think they're fair because they're neg ones. They're cards that you have to kill. You generally have to make high risk plays to kill them, unless you have like Dark Hole, in which you were probably gonna win anyway. You probably had good outs, or you probably had an out that was gonna wreck your opponent's board anyway. So anyways, I've been rambling too long. You guys let me know what you think of Kaijus. I think they can go to 60 copies per deck for all I care. Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already.